Since the Blackhawks are not getting Macklin Celebrini, let's take a look at who they'll pick at number 2 overall at the NHL Draft on June 28th. Currently, it's looking like a choice between the offensively gifted Ivan Demidov or the big right-handed defenseman Artyom Levshunov. We'll take a deep look at both players with on-ice highlights, as well as check out other players the Hawks may consider at number 2, and reveal some clues Hawks GM Kyle Davidson left with reporters after the draft lottery.
Can't wait to hear this.
Let's start with forward Ivan Demidov. He plays in the MHL Russian Junior League, is 18, 6 feet tall, weighs around 190, shoots left and plays right wing or center. Demidov tore it up last season in the MHL, scoring 60 points in 30 games with 23 goals and 37 assists. So 2 points per game. He also had 28 points in 17 games in the MHL playoffs, scoring 11 goals and 17 assists. Now keep in mind the MHL is Russia's junior hockey league, so it's not the highest level of competition. However, to give you some comparison, here's how Demidov stacked up in points per game against some well-known NHL players who played in the MHL in their draft years. Demidov's at the top of the list over Kucherov, Panarin, and Kaprizov.
Very impressive.
In the 2024 professional draft rankings on EliteProspects.com, the majority are listing Demidov at number 2 for this year's draft at this time. Demidov conjures up images of Nikita Kucherov and Patrick Kane. Game breakers, difference makers, alongside Connor Bedard. That's exciting. One pro scout said, "I think Demidov's better than Celebrini in terms of his creativity, in terms of his skating, and in terms of how he thinks the game. He'll have 1-minute shifts and never stop. His legs are always moving and he has great separation speed. His passes are marvelous. He's a great guy. Everyone loves him. In the locker room, he's a true leader. For his daily routine, he comes to the rink, has a 2-hour warm-up, practices, then stays on the rink, then an hour in the gym. If they give it to him, he'll spend additional time on the ice, or he'll go off the ice and go to the shooting room. He's very dedicated. Sounds a little like Bedard's work ethic." Here's some more highlights. Now let's take a look at defenseman Artyom Levshunov. He played for Michigan State University last season, is 18, 6 feet 2, weighs around 210 and shoots right. Levshunov had an excellent year last season with Michigan State, scoring 35 points in 38 games with 9 goals and 26 assists. Outstanding for a freshman defenseman. And for some comparison, overall in the last 20 years, Levshunov was second in points per game for defensemen in his draft year. He topped Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski, Charlie McAvoy, and other big names. In the 2024 professional draft rankings on EliteProspects.com, Levshunov has a mix of rankings from number 2 to number 10, but the consolidated ranking has him at the number 3 spot currently. Levshunov projects as a number 1 NHL defenseman. He's big, mobile, and plays in all situations. He's a right-handed defenseman, which are premium in the NHL, and the Hawks have mostly lefties in their system. He looks very comfortable with the puck. He skates well and can play an up-tempo style in how he attacks with skill. He has the offensive sense to potentially run a top power play in the NHL and has a good point shot. His defensive play doesn't stand out as much, particularly because he tries to attack so much, but he can make stops due to his athleticism and he has physicality to his game. Here's some more highlights. After the draft lottery, Kyle from Chicago met with reporters and seemed to leave a few clues. One of the big concerns with Demidov is he's contracted to play in Russia next season. and if and when he may play in the NHL. Here's some comments from Kyle on that.
As far as the player being from Russia, it's so case by case. Every player is different, and just like North American or a non-Russian European, it's always case by case, and you just have to do your fact finding. And in this case, I'm sure the Russian question is, are you going to see them? If you feel comfortable, then they're just treated like every other player, and there's obviously some dynamics sometimes you have to weigh when it comes to players with contracts overseas. We trust our scout in Russia, does really good work.
And here's a few clips of Kyle talking about the Hawks' current prospect depth at forward and D, and because of that, they'll be able to pick up the best player on the board regardless of the position. A lot of armchair GMs are saying the Hawks definitely need another right-handed defenseman and must pick up Levshunov.
I think we're heavy on defense, we're heavy on forward. I think we've done a really exciting job establishing depth in our prospect pool. The strength at those different positions means that we can go best player. We can go best player.
If you'd like to check out the full interview with Kyle from Chicago, there's a link in the description. Another thing to note, according to Demidov's agent Dan Milstein, Demidov plans to come to North America after next season. A lot of things can happen between now and the draft, but I'm thinking if the Hawks are comfortable that Demidov won't stay in Russia past next season, he'll be the pick over Levshunov and other players on the draft board. I'm not sure the Hawks can pass up an elite offensive talent that'll complement Bedard. What do you think? Here's a few other players the Hawks may consider at number 2. Caden Lindstrom, a big power forward with high-end skill. Zeev Buium, great lefty puck-moving defenseman. Cole Iserman, another big point producer. And several other options looking down the list. Check out these other Hawks vids and please like and subscribe if you're a Blackhawks fanatic. Go Hawks!